Since I'm just starting the stream, probably nobody's going to be in here for about 2.5 minutes. So if you're on the replay and I may keep it public, just fast forward to about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's when usually when people come in. I just decided to do a live stream this morning while I'm making my cigarettes and having my second cup of coffee, which is dangerous because you know what comes after the first cup of coffee. The second cup. And why is that dangerous? I'll let you figure that one out. Yeah. So it really only takes me about 5 minutes to make about a pack of cigarettes. One thing I find that a lot of people don't realize, we have been brought up in a culture that has become an anti-smoking culture by and large, which is interesting because all through time, people have smoked herbs for a variety of services and reasons. They have a benefit to the body of man. And Adolf Hitler was the first political person to put forth an anti-smoking campaign. He hated smoke. And so Adolf Hitler actually banned smoking in public places. Now, I'm pretty sure that was before they started adding all sorts of spicy ingredients into the tobacco for the pre-made cigarettes. But that's where the first anti-smoking campaign came from. And a lot of people in churchianity have followed the anti-smoking campaigns, and they've actually turned it into believing that smoking is a sin. And there are some people that will tell you smoking is a sin, and it's like, well, wait a minute. It can't be, because God says what is sin and what is not, and God is the one that actually commanded that the people smoked herbs. Hey, good morning, Jude. That he commanded. Oh, I'm talking about smoking herbs. Not the kind that most people think about. Mary Jane and all that. I'm just talking about like natural tobacco. I'm making my own cigarettes with natural pipe tobacco. They don't have all the spicy ingredients of the pre-made ones. And how we've been inundated with propaganda and indoctrinated to believe that smoking is bad for you, when in fact it depends on what you smoke. And so just in the morning here when I have my cup of coffee, I can make about a pack of cigarettes a day. I have an injector. I know I showed it before, but yeah, it's just an injector here that I have empty tubes. I have a machine that injects it. I pack this little channel with tobacco, and then it's got an arm and a rod that pushes the tobacco into the tube, and then the cigarettes are full. And so I twist the ends and to make sure the tobacco doesn't come off. But yeah, that's what I do. One of my things. And they in its natural form, without all the spicy ingredients added, natural tobacco doesn't have a highly addictive level of nicotine. It's got a very small amount of nicotine in it. And nicotine is actually, they're finding out that it's very good for a lot of neurological diseases. And I've talked about this from time to time. But there's a lot of people that I think are foolhardy that believe that smoking is a sin. They try to mingle that with the faith in Jesus Christ. And one of the things that they say is, your body is the temple of God. which it is, and God is going to destroy those that destroy the temple, and it's like, well, what's the context of that? First off, Jesus said that nothing from without the body going in through the mouth can defile the body, but that which comes out of the heart, that's what defiles the body. And that's actually the context when it speaks of defiling the temple of God is committing fornication, because that's one of the things that comes out of the heart that defiles the body. And it actually says that that's the one thing that defiles the body, that it is an actual deed that we do, but it's the heart that defiles the body. Hey, good morning, Fendora. Welcome, welcome. This is part of my getting ready in the morning, is making my cigarettes and having my morning cup of pleasure and gift of the Lord. Coffee is evidence that the Lord God loves man, because, coffee has a special benefit when it's roasted, ground up, and infused into water. And I tell people I do like to filter my water through coffee beans. But tobacco, when it's processed, has to have a certain level of moisture to it to keep it from burning in flames, and also to keep it burning. If there's too much moisture, it'll go out. If there's not enough moisture, it will catch fire. But because it's got some oil-based substances, it's more prone to smolder. But yeah, so when people automatically hate smoking, or they've succumbed to the indoctrination that smoking in itself is bad, not considering what you smoke, just smoking in general is bad, I usually like to point out to them that they're in the same company of Adolf Hitler, because he hated smoke. But God actually commanded that herbs be smoked in his tabernacle and his temple, that they would be filled with the smoke of the burning of the incense, which is herbs, weeds. What people you generally call weeds these days are herbs. And there's a reason, and God lists a bunch of different types of herbs to smoke, and there's a reason for them. And guess what? They found that those herbs have medicinal benefits. And God made the grass of the field for the ox, and he made the herb of the field for the service of man. So they have service for them. Yeah, just as I'm talking here, in 8 minutes I've already got probably 30 to 40 cigarettes made. I generally make my cigarettes about every 3 to 4 days. I'll just have a cup of coffee and catch up on videos on my subscription feed or something while I'm making cigarettes. Generally speaking. So this is just part of getting ready with me. Come get ready with me. Yeah, here in Northwest Indiana and the Midwest, upper Midwest, we've been experiencing a lot of storms these last couple of days, and actually this whole spring has been really, really rainy, and it's kind of affected my schedule. I got to bounce it around. And today they increased the chance of the risk of tornado weather. Gotta love the tornadoes. So what's on your mind, anyone? I'm only doing a short live stream. In fact, I'm probably going to cut it out here soon. Actually, I wasn't thinking I was going to be talking about cigarettes. there's another topic I was thinking about talking about. I was going to do a live stream last night, and I thought, now, uh, I had other stuff I had to catch up on, so I wasn't going to take the time out. What was I thinking about doing? I don't know, I'm not even remembering the topic. Yeah, in these live streams, YouTube pops in these options to add a question or whatever to your live stream, and a lot of people go for that. I don't know if those things kind of fill the algorithms, but personally, one thing I don't like when I enter into a live stream is when you've got a bar at the bottom that shows, on these vertical live streams, that shows a question that they want you to answer, and you can't even type into the text unless you either swipe it away or answer it. And if you don't answer the question, the bar the bar will keep popping up. I don't like that, especially when it's a stupid question like, did you like and subscribe? It's like, really, dude, you really put that question up there so that you can annoy people that come into your live stream for the first time? And so I don't like that happening to me, so I don't want to do it to other people. That's all. Unless it's like a pertinent question. It's going to be, kind of pertinent to the discussion, pertinent to the, what people might want to talk about. Who knows? But yeah, we've been getting these really hot, humid, heavy days. A few days in a row here. Drinking 1.5 gallons of water while I'm working outside in the sun. It's been fun. And when you hydrate, if you're in hot weather, having to work outside, and you're sweating a lot, you lose a lot of your electrolytes, and you should replenish them. And so I recommend doing that with stinging nettle tea. I'm not a fan of the flavor of stinging nettle. I love the herb, but the flavor is kind of like seaweed. And so I add raspberry leaf to it because it's got a lot of benefits, but it also has the ability to transform the flavor of the stinging nettle so you don't taste that seaweed flavor, and that's what I like. Hey, good morning, James. What up? But yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you've been in here, but if you go back, you'll see I was talking about the difference between natural tobacco and the spicy chemical sticks that are being made for mass produced. If they're pre-made, even American spirits are required to put toxic chemicals in there to keep them from burning if you're not puffing on them. Right on. But all through time, there's so many different kinds of herbs that are smoked, and you are a man that understands that there are a lot of benefits to herbs. I don't know, we talked about mullein, but did you know mullein is one of those herbs that you smoke to get more benefits than if you tried to make a tea out of it? Some herbs are very, very delicious raw if you eat them raw. Some herbs aren't really good unless you cook them and then you eat them, and you get benefits that way. Some herbs, they're just nasty and bitter. They don't taste good if you chew on them. You can't cook them, but if you smoke them, they actually have a pleasant flavor. And when you smoke something, you're literally aerosolizing the compounds in there to go directly into your lungs, to go directly into your bloodstream. And that's one of the ways that God designed our bodies to absorb compounds. Coltsfoot is smokable. Yeah, dude, there are hundreds of them. Wild lettuce is smokable. Mullein. I think you can smoke stinging nettle. I've never done that yet, but I have plenty of stinging nettle I can smoke, so I might try that. But there are literally hundreds of herbs. that can be smoked. But the anti-smoking campaign started with Hitler. I was talking about that. And because I highly recommend people not get the pre-made, spicy chemical sticks. The ones that Philip Morris and other manufacturers make, because they add hundreds of chemicals to them, and many of the chemicals have been shown to be carcinogenic, which is why, and other toxins in them, that's why they have to have the label on there, the warning label. Smoking, and then they say smoking cigarettes. They don't say smoking tobacco. They say smoking cigarettes, referring to the content of the package. Can lead to heart disease, birth defects, and all sorts of issues. But you don't have that warning on herbs like tobacco. You only have that warning on pre-made cigarettes. Roll your own. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, actually. See, got my own machine. Got my own machine right here. And this is actually, and I'm not advertising for them, but it's backwards because of the phone, but it's called Scott. And it's one of the cheapest injectors that I found that doesn't screw up like those Top-O-Matics. Man, I've never had a Top-O-Matic last more than a year without having some major problems and wear on the parts. But this Scott, and this is half the price on Amazon. Scott with an E at the end. I've had this one, I think, 4-5 years now. I could go back and look. I think it's probably 4 years. And it works just as good as it did when I first bought it. It's a great machine. In fact, I'm thinking about buying another one just so that I have one in case something happens with this. Because sometimes a good product disappears from Amazon. Amish grow their own tobacco. Yeah. I had a friend of mine that was a Baptist preacher down in Kentucky. He was raised in Kentucky. And his dad was a preacher. And when he was young, they had something going on down in, I don't remember. I think it was a tobacco worm came and ate up all their tobacco field or something. And all they could do at the end was sell pipe tobacco because there's a lot of stems and not a lot of leaves that were left. But anyway, he ended up having to move up into this area as a Baptist preacher. They had an opening in northern Indiana for a Baptist preacher, and this is back in the 60s, 50s or 60s. No, it would have been 40s or 50s actually. Okay, trying to think. And so anyway, he sold the farm, kept some land, but he moved up here and got up into the local Baptist church that he became a pastor of, and they all condemned him for smoking cigarettes, for smoking tobacco. And one of the things he noted was almost all of them were overweight. He says, the Bible doesn't say nothing about smoking tobacco, but it does talk about eating and letting your belly be your gods. And the funny thing was, when he was back in Kentucky, they would ask the local pastor to bless their tobacco fields. And so time went along, and this guy found out that they had actually transferred a Baptist preacher from in the northern Indiana area down to his hometown in Kentucky to fill his position in that local Baptist church. And that Baptist preacher came down there, and they wanted him to bless the tobacco fields. And he wouldn't bless their tobacco fields because he thought tobacco was a devil weed. It was a sin. It's like, who made the herb of the field? Think about that. Who made it? It wasn't the devil. What do we got here? Better for you because you tend to smoke too many if you just take them out of a pet chain smoking happens that way. If you roll them, it slows you down, and you realize how much you smoke. Yeah, I used to smoke the pre-made cigarettes, and I think it was more because of the cost. I was being more cautious, but most of my life I only smoked around a pack a day. But once I started making my own cigarettes, I'm paying $1 a pack. That's what I pay for my cigarettes, right? Just at about $1 a pack. They just raised the price of these to $3.89 for a whole roll of tubes, and so that's rounded up to $4. Then I pay 16.89 for 1 pound of tobacco. And I'm smoking the 100s, right? So these are longer, they take more tobacco. 3 cartons, which is $12. And one of these, which is $17. So that's $29. Just less than $30. I get 3 cartons. That's less than $10 a carton, which is less than $1 a pack. That's what I pay. But there was someone that came into my live stream last year that was from Canada. And I thought he was lying. I just didn't believe him when he said how, and it was right across the border, just into whatever it is, Toronto, Canada, across the Great Lakes. And he said, if I remember correctly, a pack of cigarettes was $70 or something, and a carton was hundreds of dollars. And I was like, there's no way. I said, I thought he was exaggerating, like lying. And I looked it up, and lo and behold, that's the price of tobacco just across the border was insane. Insane. I mean, yeah, and it's all government taxes. All government taxes. Well, and that's the thing that killed me was that's pre-made cigarettes, but you know, Canada has had that national health care shit for a long time, and that's where they try to pull the money from is people that smoke cigarettes and partake of other things that do cause physical illness or disease. Yeah, dude, he came in there. I didn't believe him. I did a fact check while he was in the live stream. I grabbed my other device and did a search. How much is a pack of cigarettes and such and such? I don't remember for sure. It might have been Toronto. I think that's what it was. I'm not from China, so off the top of my head, I think I have a rough idea where Toronto is, and there's Ontario, and there's Saskatchewan, and there's a couple of different provinces or whatever they call them. They don't call them states. I think China was founded by people that didn't want to fight the British. They were just like, oh, we love to lick the red boot or the red coat, the black boot with the red coat. Bootlickers, that's what they called them. Yeah, they used to be called red coats. Now they're called blue coats. I don't have anything against the tyrannical Gestapo of the United States of America. They're all heroes in their own eyes. Yeah, say I don't have anything against them, but they've definitely violated me enough times in my life. And I knew every time I had a police officer that overstepped his legal boundaries and violated my constitutional rights, um, I didn't know the Constitution. I didn't know what their legal boundaries were, but I just knew in my heart that what was being done to me was absolutely wrong and evil. Getting me out of my, stopping me when I'm pulled up. Like one time I pulled off to the side of the road because I was getting a text and it was at night. I pulled off into off of the road into a shoulder lane, and I stopped so that I could text. I could read my text and I could text back. I was literally stopped for maybe 15 seconds and I was getting ready to go, and then all of a sudden there's lights behind me. Cop illegally pulled me over. I was breaking no laws. He had no legal right to detain me. But yet here he is pulling me over, or coming out detaining me with his lights. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm legal. I'm not breaking any laws. Then he comes up and he says, what's going on here? And I said, I just pulled over to text. I should have said none of your business. I didn't know what my rights were, what his legal boundaries were, and I never knew that you're not supposed to answer any questions, because every question they ask you, they're looking to hem you up or something. All right, brother, have a good one. I got to get going here pretty soon too. And I said not doing anything illegal, and he goes, well, you're pulled over on my road. And I'm like, this is a public road. And he says, I asked for my license and registration. And I'm like, dude, what's going on here, dude? I haven't done anything wrong. And so I give my license and registration, but at that point I knew that I was being violated. And I didn't know what the laws were. I didn't know what the legal boundaries were that he's got, but I just knew what was going on was wrong. Then he asks me if I have any weapons in my truck. And I told him, I said, I have a license to carry a firearm, and I have my firearm with me. And he goes, where's it at? And I said, it's right here. I pointed right next to me. He said, step out of the car, get out of the car. He got really angry and started getting all galoopy because I have a firearm. We're like literally in the United States of America, where it's enshrined in the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights, the right of the people to keep and to bear arms shall not be infringed. Get out of the car. And then he grabs my fucking gun. He drops the magazine, unloads it, locks the thing back, and he takes my firearm. He literally took my gun for no fucking reason. Unlawfully seized my firearm. And he had a partner with him. So his partner's got me up against my own truck, and he goes back to run the numbers on the firearm. Completely unlawful search and seizure. And I didn't know what the laws were, but I knew I was being violated, and I knew what the Constitution said about or the Bill of Rights says about with the Second Amendment. And I told his partner, I said, you guys swore an oath to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that cop said to me, we're not living in, he threw a number out there like 1875 anymore, 1893. It's like, yeah, but you swore an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And he's like, well, in this day and age, things are different. And I'm like, yeah, I know. The Nazis won the war. That's one thing I tell people. The Nazis won the war. We were lied to. We were told the Nazis lost and freedom won. Liberty! Oh, the land of the free and the home of the slave. That's just one of the dozens and dozens of times that I have been violated by the Blue Line Gestapo, or the Blue Coats. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna end the stream. I got enough cigarettes to last me at least another 5 days now, because I've kind of gone a little overboard with the stream. It was just a short get ready with me stream. Nobody else has been commenting, so I'm out. Peace.